Alright, welcome back. This video is a continuation of Objective 2, finding or using technology to find a regression equation to model real data. In the previous video we got through part A of this handout, of this I do problem. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do part B. And part B is more, it's going to work for this example obviously, but you can use this step or these steps in this calculator to find any value that you want to find within the given data. Alright. And so I've listed out two ways you can do this for Part B. And Part B says use the regression function to estimate the number of participants in 2000. If you notice, the data goes till 1999. They want to know if I input 2000 or how many baseball players are going to be playing baseball in the year 2000. And so that's what this function is able to do, or that's what this feature of this calculator is able to do. Two ways you can do it. Again, we found the equation, the regression equation, or the y equals quadratic function in part A. You can simply just, if you notice, and this is the process that you're going to have to think as you go through these types of problems. The year 2000 is an x value. We said that in the previous video. The year 2000 is an x value. And if you notice, it's 100 years after the year, because this label up here is 0 equals 1900. And so 2000 is 100 years after 1900. And so I need the x value of 100. That's how I found 100 right here. If you notice, 1999 was 99 years after 1900, so that's the x value of 99. Now, the first way you do this is you just input 100 in for your x's in the quadratic function. That'll spit out the same answer as if you use your calculator. And this is more, I would say, a backup, because it would take a little while on your home screen to type out all those decimals and then put 100 squared plus all those decimals times 100 minus all those decimals equals a number. So I would use this process that I'm about to show you, but that's just a backup. You should know how to do input a value into a function to spit out an output. We've practiced that for a long time. In order to do this on your calculator, I have listed the steps out in blue. Please take a moment to write these steps out and put a big star by them or something, just so you can come back to this process to reference these calculator steps, all right? Because you will need to find specific x values to evaluate a y value on the calculator. That's a big expectation of this objective. And so I wrote it out in blue, so again, please write those steps down in part 2 under number 2 so you can use them later. But if, and again, I made a asterisk here, you need to be on this screen. You need to be on the scatter plot screen of your calculator, and you need to see the parabola with all the data points in order to do this process that I'm about to do. So make sure your calculator looks like mine again. I'm going to hit second and then the button trace. If you notice in blue, second button is blue, and that'll bring up anything in blue on your calculator. I want to get to that calculate screen. So second trace will bring me to calc. And second trace. After I hit second trace to bring up the calculate screen, I go down to the option, the first option, value. I'm going to hit enter on value. That's going to bring up an x equals option. All right. So then I hit enter, and then after I hit enter, so you need to write this down as well, I'm going to enter the value that I want to find. And in this case, the value I want to find is 100. All right. I want to find in the year 2000, which is represented by 100, I want to find out how many baseball participants will be in existence in the year 2000. So in this case, if you notice, I wanted to find the x value of 100 to get the y value of 10.87 million baseball players. And so that's going to be the answer, and I'm going to put that in red down here. So the y value, let me switch it to red. The y value equals 10.87 million participants. So in the year 2000, there will be roughly 10.87 million participants playing baseball. And that is the process you will use to find any x value. So anytime it wants to, if it gives you a list of columns and the x value, in this case it's years, if they say, how many baseball players will there be in the year 2050? It's the same process. You enter in 150 in for x, and it'll spit out a y value. Now, there will be times that you will encounter where, let's say I want to evaluate x equals 300. 300 is not found in this window, the X and Y axis window. And so in that case, I would have to hit zoom and go down to zoom out and hit enter again. And now it brings up a much bigger window. It's the same parabola, but it's a much bigger window. And all I did was I hit zoom and hit the third option for zoom out. And now if I want to evaluate an X value, I go back to second trace value, and I want to evaluate a really big X value. And if you see 300 still doesn't work, my window is not big enough, so I would have to hit zoom out again. And so if you ever try this process and you hit second trace, I want to find a value, and you input the value and then you hit enter and it says invalid, all that means is that your window isn't big enough. So my X value is down here, it doesn't go to 300 yet, and so I would have to zoom out yet again in order to evaluate that X value. Alright, I'm going to do C and D as well in this video. I'm only at minute 6, so I got a little bit of time left. Let me get back to the original window that you should be looking at right now. In the part C says use the model to determine the year in which baseball participation was its highest. So if I was reading that question, the word highest to me would mean that they want to find the maximum amount of baseball participation. Alright, so what year was baseball participation the highest? So if you look on the table, you can notice that in 1993 the highest amount of participation was 15.6 million. And so that is the actual highest, but sometimes it won't be that straightforward. And so I'm going to show you again how to use a calculator to find either a maximum or minimum point. And in this case, we want to find the maximum point. And please make note that the maximum or minimum of any parabola is the vertex of the parabola. And so technically we're finding the vertex of the parabola. In this case, it is a maximum. You can see that on the graph itself, the picture, it has a maximum point. It forms a mountaintop. So for part C, I'm going to write out the steps, and then please make note of what I type out. Alright? Pause the video if you need to, and write down what I just wrote down. For the steps to find a maximum or minimum, or to find the vertex, max or min, you hit second trace calc. And so let me get back to the screen you should be looking at. I hit second trace for calculate. Alright, that brings up my calculate screen. Then I'm going to hit, in this case, it says determine the year in which baseball participation was its highest, and highest means maximum, so in this case I have to pick option 4. At times you will hit option 3 for minimum, but in this case it's option 4 for maximum. I'm going to go down there and hit enter. And now it brings up this little spider looking cursor. Alright, I need to move that cursor 2 times. In this case it's asking for a left bound. All that means is here's my vertex right around in this area. I have to move my cursor until it's to the left of the vertex. It doesn't matter where it is to the left, it just needs to be to the left of the vertex. I could have moved it way down there, it doesn't matter, but if you notice it's now to the left of the vertex. I hit enter, it's going to estimate a left bound. Now it's asking for a right bound, and so I have to go to the right of the vertex, somewhere to the right. Again, it doesn't matter. I could have gone all the way down there, but that would have taken too long, and so I'm just going to pick right there. And now I'm going to hit enter, and then it's going to say guess. Would you like me to guess where the vertex is? And I'm just going to hit enter one more time. Alright, and I have wrote that out. You go to the left of the max on graph, hit enter, right of the max on graph, hit enter, and then hit enter one more time. To be more specific, I'm going to say vertex, so you need to switch this to right of vertex. Alright, so once I do that process, it brings up an X value and a Y value. So this part C says use the model to determine the year in which baseball participation was its highest. And so the year, again, it's asking for the year, and we determined earlier that the year is the X values, and so I'm going to put that in red here. This is the X values, and then the participants are the Y values, and that looks a little weird, so let me move those quickly. Oh my. I just wanted to move these up a little bit. There we go. X and Y, so this is asking for the year, so I know that it's an X value, so I'm going to write for my answer that x equals, and the calculator says 90.456. So I'm going to say that it's 1990 d.456. All right, so roughly in 1990, the year 1990 was the maximum. And so if you notice, that's not as accurate as the actual table, and that's why this is just a line of best fit, but it is pretty close. Now, so the maximum x value is 1990, and then for part D, how many participants were there in that year? It's the y value, so it's 15.69 million. So y equals 15.69 million participants. So I have completed this entire I do example, utilizing the calculator to pull up different functions or features on the calculator to find different pieces of information. Now, the problems you're going to do, the you do problems, if you notice, it's similar functions. And so you're first going to construct a scatter diagram given the information. Then you're going to use the regression function to determine when, so again, time and height. Time would be x, height would be y. So when the rocket reached its maximum height, and then you determine the maximum height as well. So that's the same function I just did. You have to find the vertex by going to calculate maximum. And then estimate the height of the rocket after 8 seconds. That's evaluated in x value, so you should know how to do that as well. And then predict when the rocket will hit the ground. That's more of a challenge question that I just want to see if you can understand that the x value represents the ground in this instance, and you're going to predict when the parabola will touch the ground at how many seconds, or when the rocket will hit the ground. And so you should be able to do all of this process based off of the notes you took in this video and the steps you just learned how to do within a graphing calculator. And then you should be able to do the practice as well. And your goal should be 9 out of 9 for the practice problems.